I'm Abraham. I'm Director of Engineering at Dropbox. I specifically got involved with Mento as an internal learning and development program to help senior managers get to a director level, connecting with an external coach who has been fantastic and has actually helped me achieve a lot of the goals of actually getting to that state in my career. I've been at the company for quite a while. Started here as an IC, transitioned to management here. So I think I really wanted to make sure I was much more well-rounded in terms of my management foundations and sort of principles. Where I needed a lot more support was on like the motivating of people and how to encourage them and get them to build the right things. The matching process I think was quite fantastic. I think we were presented with like 3 or 4 different coaches that I could have paired with. They all sounded fantastic. You know, one of them was heavy on the engineering side. One of them was actually very fascinating on like the design side. And the coach that I picked was again, very like product oriented and heavy from that perspective, but still had a technical background. I had worked with external coaches before, but candidly, it wasn't to the caliber of this particular service or the coach that I worked with. It really resonated to work with somebody that I almost like envied in a really thoughtful way, like a little bit of their life, right? Of like, hey, this is someone who's like working remotely. They've worked at companies that I admired, roles that I've sort of could see myself going into in the future. It was really wonderful just to say, okay, this is someone that's been in that world, both in startups, both in larger companies, in 0 to 1 products as well, but also has a really deep understanding on products and really helping that dive, but at the same time still has an engineering background. Different topics would lead to really interesting rabbit holes that would help me discover and learn things that I never really had considered before. Just simply hearing a little bit of war stories, right? Of like, hey, this is a bad situation that I was in and here's how I worked through it. There is a fine balance between mentorship of like, okay, here's what worked well for me versus how do you think of a problem? What do you think would work well, which is more on the coaching side? How do we build more cross-functional alignment with folks? Those were the things where my coach was incredibly valuable. I specifically drafted my own promotion doc. I shared it with my lead, and I also shared it with my coach for the very specific intent of saying like, what are my gaps? What am I missing here? And there was a lot of really interesting conversations there that I think sort of came up. Sort of having that like third party, very well-rounded perspective was incredibly valuable to help me understand what my potential gaps were. And more importantly, how to like really close them, how to make sure that I was planning to demonstrate that sort of evidence over the coming time and be able to make sure that if it was a stronger case towards the end, I was able to achieve a lot of our goals. This is applicable not just to when you're starting in a new job, but also when you're starting in a new role. Yes, the manager is like someone that can have a great amount of contribution, but I think that frankly, the power dynamic is still there. Getting just an unbiased sort of third party outside of the company perspective is, again, what I think I found the most valuable. The program definitely contributed a lot towards my engagement and my happiness. It was just very different. Any organization is only as strong as the leaders guiding it. The time and the attention, that kind of thing, the quality, that's really what allowed me to build the momentum, keep myself engaged so that when I reach this new level, right, I can sort of keep building on that momentum. I think it's really given me a lot of confidence to be able to show up and say, yeah, I can do this job.